Video time. I'm gay. I'm not doing that, isn't it? Reddit mode. We're going Reddit mode. Hey guys, Reddit mode here. What up, Tube Gooners? It's your boy, the Goon Man. The historic downfall of The Walking Dead by Friendly Space Ninja. I want to look at this guy's channel just to get a vibe of what this guy's whole vibe is. He looks like he exclusively talks about shitty shows, or at the very least makes like almost exclusively negative reviews. Now let's goon. I have a feeling, I'm just like looking at the timestamps. I have a feeling I know exactly what this video is going to say. Like, oh, the show started off good, then season 6 got a little bit shitty, and then the rest of it got gay, because then the showrunners changed, they stopped deviating from the comics, and the end was bad, all spin-offs and shit. I know exactly what they're going for. Let's get into the video. The historic downfall of The Walking Dead. I kind of know what to expect, so let's get brazy. This is actually a fire-ass edit. I like this.
There used to be a time where The Walking Dead was my favorite show on television.
Ah, fuck. He speaks with like a slight accent. I don't know why that pissed me off.
That's gotta be racist. There's no way.
We would do giant watch parties every single week, reuniting friends, family members from different generations, parents, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, nephews, cousins, you name it.
I low-key feel like The Walking Dead was kind of one of the last shows to do that. I feel like Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, and like Game of Thrones are probably like the three big examples of this, but they're like kind of like the last shows where it's like it was like the finales, or not necessarily finales, but like new episodes were like an event every single week. Like everybody was talking about it the next day. Everybody was like sitting. You knew everybody at the same time was watching that episode with you. You know what I mean? We don't really have that in the streaming age, because now it's like, okay, episode drops on fucking Netflix or HBO Max or whatever. Everybody watches it. They post clips to Twitter and make fun of it or talk shit or fucking to be like, haha, this was funny or whatever. And they go on with their day, and then nothing ever happens. But like The Walking Dead, it was like, if you were watching that show, you knew everybody else was also watching it. And then the next day at work or school or whatever, you knew exactly what everybody else was going to be talking about. Not necessarily just The Walking Dead either. Breaking Bad was another good example of this. Fucking Game of Thrones. I've never seen Game of Thrones, but I know it was another good example of this. I can't think of other examples of like big phenomena shows like this, but this was definitely one of the last ones, for sure. The final bastion of the American family. Honestly, like low-key, yeah.
And around season 5, The Walking Dead was the most watched television series in the world.
Facts.
In my opinion, and in the opinion of many, The Walking Dead is the perfect A-grade example of a show that widely overstayed its welcome. It's a show that gambled a little too much with its audience and refused to quit while it was ahead, and now the entirety of The Walking Dead as a franchise feels like a pale shadow of its former self, and more importantly, feels like a pale shadow of what it could have been. Because, yeah.
That's fair. I feel like even hardcore fans like me would agree with that statement. Like, yeah, it went on for a little bit too long. Had some problems near the midpoint, but, you know, happens. We're going Twizzler mode. Twizzle my fucking diddle.
It's hard to deny that this show had somewhat of a historical downfall. I've been wanting to talk about The Walking Dead.
I don't know about, see, that's where I think the title of this is a little bit misleading. I don't think it's a historical downfall, because there have been plenty of shows that started off really good and really interesting. Everybody loved them, and then at a certain point people just fell off, or people stopped caring, or the show just simply got bad. Like, The Walking Dead is definitely not the first show to have gotten bad after being very good for a few seasons. Like, I'm sure a lot of people would say that about shows like Lost or something like that. I've never seen Lost, so I don't know shit. But like, a lot of people would probably say it about that show, where it's like, okay, it was good at first, then it kind of got bad. There are plenty of shows I know of that are exactly like that. However, I will give him points. I was not expecting the kind of the charitability he's been expressing so far. I was fully expecting this video to be like some fucking angry British guy being like, The Walking Dead is one of the worst shows I have ever seen, and just like making up nitpick arguments, being like, this logistically does not make sense. Why do they have bullets when they are out of bullets? You know what I mean? Like, God forbid one of these assholes that complains about like woke shit or whatever. I was fully expecting that kind of thing, but so far he seems like a kind of reasonable guy.
The show tells the story of Rick Grimes.
I'm Rick Grimes. Rick Grimes. Rick Grimes is literally me. I'm literally him, dude. Look, that's literally me. Like, bro really put two pictures of Rick Grimes on screen and thought we wouldn't notice. I'm Rick Grimes. Grimes.
I'm Andrew Lincoln,
I
aka
am
Ricky Dicky Doo-Dah Grimes.
A sheriff's deputy from Georgia who
What is the? I for the longest time I thought that Ricky Dicky Doo-Dah Grimes clip was fucking AI. But then I like found it like in an actual like officially uploaded AMC video from like 6 years earlier. I'm like, there's no way this is AI. This is real. What is the context of this?
Most seasons have a total of 16 episodes, split into 2 storylines of 8 episodes each, and the writers try to softly reinvent the show in every half. And that capacity to constantly redefine itself was one of The Walking Dead's biggest strengths, but it ultimately also became one of its biggest problems.
That's a very good point. I don't think I said anything similar in my video, but that is actually a very good point to bring up. Like the fact that they'd split the seasons in half the way that they do. So like episodes in the same season feel so distinct from each other. Very good thing in the early seasons, ends up being a real pain in the ass later on. But so that's fair. You know, that has to be the worst thing to wake up to is just a fucking zombie apocalypse. I'd be kind of goated actually. No, you know what? I'd actually be kind of pissed if I went to a coma and then woke up and there was a zombie apocalypse, because I would want to be there for the collapse of society. I would want to be. That's my vibe. That's the type of shit I'm on. I don't know. Waking up to becoming a woman would be worse, dude. If I woke up as a woman, I would get nothing done. I would flick my bean all fucking day. That's the only thing I would do. I'd flick the absolute fuck out of my bean all fucking day. All fucking day. I judge you, and if I turn into a dude, I'd play with my new meat. Exactly.
And great directing.
Now, see, that's the thing. See, a dude magically waking up as a woman with a fully functioning pussy, that is an entirely different vibe from a woman waking up as a man. Because what women don't understand about about dudes beating our meat. But the first time right after you beat your meat, you feel like immense disappointment and guilt every single time. You're like, all right, I'm beating my meat. I come, and then I just look at what I've done, and I'm like, I just wasted so much fucking time that I could have been doing productive things. That's every dude. Every dude who has ever beaten off, which is every dude, by the way, has to deal with the post-nut guilt. Women don't understand that, because women can just fucking flick their beans, fucking shove things in and out of their pussy all day. They can come 14 times in a row and still keep going if they're real hardcore gooners about it. They don't have an off switch. Men have an off switch. As soon as we come, it's like, all right, I'm done. And if I'm really horny, I can maybe go again in 20 minutes. But like, other than that, I'm done. I can't. That's what women don't understand about waking up as a man. Anyways, what were we talking about? The Walking Dead?
The one thing I find interesting about the fall of The Walking Dead is
Season
that
6 trailer, by the way,
have different notions of when the show...
You know how I know this? The Season 6 trailer? Because that's my favorite fucking trailer of The Walking Dead. I used to rewatch it all the time. And even now, I still sometimes go back and rewatch it, because the Season 6 trailer is so fucking raw, dude. I fucking love that trailer. With that Hozier song. All you have is your fire. Wasn't there a theory that this was part of a coma dream that he was having? I'm gonna nip that in the bud right now. Fuck coma theories. If you've ever if you have ever developed a coma theory for any TV show, you should be fucking shot and killed on the spot. I'm not kidding.
But also because it often managed to pick itself up in some capacity. And despite its unimaginably massive downfall, the show did keep somewhat of a cult following until the very end, with most people keeping a very strong attachment.
I'm that guy.
To
Anyways, yeah, I agree so far.
Season
2,
2, however, is a bit more of a mixed bag for people.
It was a mixed bag at the time. Nowadays, everybody seems to unanimously agree that it's one of the best seasons. Back when it was airing, people fucking hated it. The popular sentiment at the time was that it was boring and it was just characters talking. But like the fandom nowadays really appreciates it in retrospect, because it's like, oh, it's like a lot of great character drama, great character arcs, great development and shit. This was not the sentiment back in the day.
While many appreciate its character work and its very skilled displays of tension, the season also faced a lot of criticism for its slow pace and lack of action. And really, it's understandable after...
That being said, those are all very fair criticisms. Like, that was the sentiment at the time, but it was still fair.
Slow descent into madness in Season 2 is still one of my favorite storylines on the show, and the overall...
Hell yeah. Hold on.
Girl, I just found a damn doll 2 days ago. You found a doll, Dale. That's what you did. You found a doll.
Come on, girl. You got walkers all around you.
They're in the woods.
Okay.
This is my favorite one.
I'm counting.
You don't know shit anymore. You can do it. It's my call, man. I think you can keep them safe.
I love the fucking... okay. I'm counting. 9, That's my favorite Walking Dead meme. That is my favorite Walking Dead meme. Okay, what are we doing?
Works. Season 3 is considered by a number of fans to simply be the best season of The Walking Dead.
That's actually fucking insane. Where the hell are you getting that information? Bro, I'm gonna need a source on that, dude. Source. Trust me, bro. Who is saying that season 3 is the best season? I've not met a single person who says this. That is actually insane. In my experience, the top 3 seasons that people often debate or if they're the best are 1, 2, and 5. Occasionally 9 gets thrown into the mix, but
Already amazing character work, this season also allowed itself to move a bit more. It's action-packed, fast-paced, the stakes are much higher, it introduces new characters that, for the most part, are awesome, and, of course, this is the season that also introduces the show's first real villain, the Governor.
You're gonna just fucking not include Shane in the villain conversation. I see how it is. All right.
He was an insanely menacing psychopath with an eye
He's the
patch,
goat,
and
though.
people loved him. Season 3 also got praise for the way it explored the psychological aspects of its characters. It's the point where the story shows how this zombie apocalypse is affecting the characters' mental health, and the writers handled it in a way that was incredibly intriguing and, at times, emotional. It's probably not the most realistic depiction of mental health, but to this day, the telephone twist in Season 3 still gives me goosebumps. I'll always remember
you big
the
old
first
goose
time I
pimples?
saw it. For those who don't know, it's a storyline where Rick gets a phone call from people who are willing to help the group. He talks to them several times, trying to find a way to meet with them. He spends entire days waiting by the phone for them to call, until he realizes in a gut punch of a twist that these people do not exist, that the phone he's using doesn't even work, and that he hallucinated the entire thing. It's an insanely well executed.
I think he left out the most important detail, which is that the voices he was hearing were like all the the people who have died so far in the show. Like he was hearing Lori, Amy, I think there was like another, I think Jackie also.
I think the first signs of trouble for The Walking Dead really started to show in Season 4. More specifically, in the second half of Season 4. While the first half...
That is entirely fair. I see exactly where he's going with this. I like half agree. I like that half of the season, probably more than the first half. But like, I see what he means. Yeah, I got you.
The Terminus arc marks the beginning of what I like to call The Walking Dead's boomerang storytelling. Let me explain what I mean by that.
I think anybody with a brain can tell what you mean by that. Boomerang storytelling, pretty obvious.
So, the show now had to follow micro-groups of characters scattered around different parts of the map, trying to find their friends and family members and attempting to survive in the wild. Now, in theory, that's totally fine. You can easily make that work by separating your episodes in 2 or 3 plot lines. We can jump from plot A to plot B to maybe plot C, and everything would be okay. That's what most TV shows do. But instead of doing that, producer Scott Gimple, who was...
Ooh, good old Gimpies. Hey, how you doing, homie? Hey, what's cracking? This guy created the cartoon Fillmore, by the way. Yeah, Gimple loves his fucking anthologies. He loves his anthology format.
Also,
believe me, you'll get a lot of that with Fear.
The showrunner at the time opted to do things differently. This is where he started experimenting with boomerang storytelling, aka the idea of dedicating an entire episode to a single character or a single group of characters. Basically, this narrative structure consists of one storyline being the focus of one episode and having a sort of rotation through the season. To simplify, it means episode 1 would focus on storyline 1, episode 2 would focus on storyline 2, episode 3 on storyline 3, episode 4 on storyline 4, and then episode 5 would then circle back around and go back to storyline 1, and then that same cycle would continue until all the storylines converge into one for the finale. So... do I need to explain why that model sucks? This narrative structure was...
Well, here's the thing. That doesn't suck inherently. It's not an inherently bad form of storytelling, because you can do that idea and do it well. There are ways to like write that in an interesting way, right? I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but there are ways to do that idea well. Like, okay, you have all these isolated stories that all come together in the end. It's not an inherently bad idea. It's just that the way The Walking Dead handles it is not very good, and especially the way Fear the Walking Dead handles it. But that's for the video. You know what bothers me about this video? Not really any point he's made so far. I've had like minor disagreements. The thing that bothers me about this video is that the footage he's using is like exclusively like trailers and like clips that AMC has posted online. Does anybody else notice that? He doesn't use like actual footage of it. He didn't like, you know, hunt down a torrent of the show, download it, and fucking use that as footage to illustrate his point better. He's using fucking trailers that aren't relevant to what he's saying. Like, he's talking about the second half of season 4, but he's showing clips from like the first half because that's all that's in the trailer. It's pissing me off. It's driving me nuts.
But to backtrack, while these issues started to appear in season 4, people still absolutely adored the show.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a problem in season 4 for sure, but it's definitely not like the worst example of it. They do the anthology shit way worse later in the season. Another thing I think he should also mention is that he's discussing this as if you're watching it week to week as it's airing, which obviously you can't do anymore because the show is not airing anymore. So I think this is less egregious nowadays, like when you can just binge watch it. So like, if there's like an episode like you're not too interested in, it's like, okay, fine, I'll just, you know, in an hour I'll be back to the storyline I want to see, which obviously still isn't great, but like it's definitely better than waiting a week. So, which is why I say in my video, it's definitely a show that's better with a binging model. I'm agreeing with this video a lot so far.
It wasn't a problem yet. I mentioned
I have like
it
minor
earlier,
disagreements
but season 5 is the point where The Walking Dead peaked as a show. The ratings for season 5 were insane. It was the biggest TV show in the world, an absolute pop culture phenomenon like we'd never seen before. And again, every single episode was a massive event. The show seemed unstoppable.
Hell yeah.
And then came season 6. Season 6 was a defining point.
Bro, hold, bro. You're really just gonna skip over how goated season 5 was. You're just gonna gloss right over that. Sure. Fuck it. Whatever. It's gay.
For fans, season 6 was the definitive point where the show started to make fatal mistakes it would never recover from.
Yeah. I want to see what his specific examples are, but I'm sure I'll probably agree with them. That's why in my video I referred to 6 as like the transition season, because it does have a lot of the strengths of like the earlier seasons. Like it still has a lot of great character drama and you know, action and shit, but it also has like a lot of the problems that would be seen in the later seasons, like the anthology format and shit like that, and the pacing. So like I agree, but I think I agree for different reasons.
To make it short, Scott Gimple and the writers were starting to rely on cheap tricks to mess with the audience and to carry the plot of the show.
I know where he's going with this, and Paul's in a great example. He's talking about the Glen dumpster. I know he's talking about the Glen dumpster. Everybody talks about the Glen dumpster. And for good reason, because it fucking sucks dick through a straw. The goat.
These cheap tricks came in different forms that seemed to annoy different fans, but it was only a matter of time before they pulled the one cheap trick that would make everybody angry and turn that frustration into real backlash against the show. At the rate they were going, it was only a matter of time before the show made its first fatal mistake. And that fatal mistake inevitably arrived in episode 7 of season 6, where the writers pulled a card that forever changed the audience's perception of the show. And that now infamous fatal mistake was the Glen fake-out death.
Glen dumpster, baby! Yeah, I'm gonna agree with this point. Yeah, this shit sucks dick. I hate the Glen dumpster moment.
Now, it's important to point out for anyone watching this who hasn't seen The Walking Dead that in its
Why would you be watching this if you haven't seen The Walking Dead, by the way? Just an FYI.
Early years, one of the biggest elements that made the show so incredibly thrilling is the fact that it established very early on that this was a story where nobody was safe. The Walking Dead was a show where anybody could die. Anybody. They knew that if they wanted the stakes of the show to feel real, the audience needed to feel and see that constant danger. That could only be achieved effectively by killing off main characters in the most brutal and shocking ways. And they succeeded at that. They actually pulled that off really well. It was a big thing. Every time something would go down in the show, the audience would be tense. You would be on the edge of your seat, holding your breath and clenching your butt cheeks because any action sequence meant you were probably about to watch your favorite character get eaten by zombies zombies or get their head chopped off. It was really stressful. And they didn't even keep the big character deaths for big moments like a season finale or something like that. No, sometimes a major character would just die in the middle of a random episode in a gruesome and brutal manner, and then the show had to move on immediately because urgency. We have to move, we have to survive. And that was an element of the story that truly contributed to its high stakes. However, over time, this aspect of the show became less of a necessary narrative device, and instead it slowly turned into a weird and cheap gimmick primarily used for shock value. Character deaths started to feel like they didn't really have a point anymore, and most of the main cast started to develop some pretty thick plot armor, meaning most of the brutal death scenes were given to side characters people didn't really care about. It all
I like how he said that when he was showing Noah. I fucking loved Noah. Noah was the GOAT. Noah was the fucking GOAT, dude. Don't be talking shit about Noah. If I see any Noah slander in this fucking everybody ate Chris. Everybody ate Chris.
became white noise. So Nicholas completely panics and almost seems to dissociate for a short but tense moment, after which he turns around to face Glenn and thanks him. He then grabs his gun and shoots himself in the head. In his fall to the ground, he accidentally...
This is YouTube. He would say unalive himself if he didn't want to get demonetized. That's why I know this video is not making no money, because he said kill himself and not unalived or any gay shit like that. If you say unalive unironically, I think you should
Glenn
fucking
down
die.
with him, and they both fall from the dumpster. The scene is then overtaken by sad music as we watch Glenn being brutally ripped apart by the zombies, and then cut to black. Immediately after that scene aired, the audience erupted on social media. It was an absolute whirlwind, but not in the way you'd expect. Where Scott Gimple and the people behind the show expected the scene to be met with the same sense of shock and horror as previous.
Is that Walter Jr.? No, that's Joaquin Phoenix.
They were instead met with a surprising amount of...
I thought that was Walter Jr. It was Joaquin Phoenix. It was Joaquin Phalanx. That's awesome.
doubt, and everybody agreed to wait for episode 4 to come out the following week to see what happens with Glenn. The problem is, remember, the show was now operating...
They didn't actually answer that question until like 3 weeks later. I remember being there. I was there for this. I remember. I was in the trenches for this shit. I was fucking in the trenches for this shit. I was here. I'm a first-hand witness, bro. I'm a first-hand account, bro. You could use me as a primary source in your fucking essay, dude.
And then he got up and just walked away, rendering the entire thing a giant waste of time. This was a very specific turning point for the show, one that fundamentally broke the trust between the audience and the writers.
That's a good point. That is actually a very good point to break. It breaks the trust between the audience and the writers. I never would have considered it that way. That's interesting. That's an interesting take. I like it. I fuck with it.
That was the season 6 served as a big piece of narrative build-up for the highly anticipated arrival of The Walking Dead's most notorious big bad, Negan. Negan is introduced in the season 6 finale,
It's so
and he
awesome.
shows up in one of my favorite scenes in the entire show. He spent the entire second half of the season in the shadows, tricking Rick and his group into being at his mercy as revenge after they killed some of his people, and he completely overpowers them. After the audience heard his name in almost every episode of the season, he finally reveals himself in the last third of the finale. His introduction scene is incredibly tense, and he addresses the group for the first time in an 11-minute monologue that is performed brilliantly by Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
He is the GOAT. That's what I'm talking about.
You're Rick, right? I'm Negan. And I
I do not appreciate you killing my men.
Also, when
So
I
I sent my people to kill your people for killing my people,
you
you killed more of my people. Not cool.
I don't want to kill you people. Just want
Not fucking cool. You have no fucking idea how not fucking cool that shit is. But I think you'll be up to speed shortly. You see, no matter what you do, Rick, no matter fucking what, you do not mess with the New World Order. And the New World Order is this. And it's really very simple, so even if you're fucking stupid, which you very well may be, you can understand it. Are you ready? Here goes. Give me your shit, or I will fucking kill you. Now I know that is a mighty, fine, large pill to swallow, but swallow it, you most certainly motherfucking will. I might have gotten that a little bit out of order, but I know bits and pieces. I know like bits and pieces of the Negan monologue, just like not in the right order.
to make that clear from the get-go. I
I want you to work for me. You can't do that if you're fucking dead. Now, can you?
Honestly, this scene is so good. Sometimes I just go on YouTube to watch it randomly.
I literally do the same thing. I literally do this all the time. This exact video, too, I come back to this uncensored Negan speech all the time, dude. I don't know, I feel like they should have ended the episode with Negan killing Abraham so people grieved his death during the wait for the next season, and then kill off Glenn so that Abraham's death isn't overshadowed. That's not a bad way to handle it.
Turned out to be the show's second fatal mistake. Now, whether you've seen the show or not, you've probably heard about the absolute fucking scandal created by what is essentially considered to be the worst cliffhanger in television history.
That is an insane take. I'm not going to lie. Calling this the worst cliffhanger in TV history is crazy. I don't want to defend the cliffhanger. Don't make me be that guy that defends the cliffhanger. Maybe it's just me, right? Maybe it's just I was kind of the right age for the show at the time, right? I was like, what? I'd have been like 16, 17, something like that. Maybe it's just me and like nostalgia or whatever. But like, I remember when that happened, when the cliffhanger happened, it was like I didn't see very many people. I don't remember seeing very many people being angry about it. I saw like some people being angry about it, obviously, but I didn't see. It was mostly people just like having fun speculating and theorizing. That's the fun that I got out of it, at least when it was first airing. I remember watching your theory video and who was going to die and how you nailed it on the head. I did. Again, I also predicted it completely because I am the GOAT. Remember when he got put in Tekken randomly? Negan? Yeah, Negan is just in Tekken for some reason, which is awesome.
It made people so mad that it literally broke the internet. It was completely insane. Seriously, the backlash got so bad that like Scott Gimple had to address it to the press. Actors tried to defend the decision in interviews. People were screaming for Scott Gimple to be fired. They denounced the show's manipulative antics. It was a fucking shit show.
Is that Ronnie Hayes?
What?
I'm sure Zombies knows about this guy. You guys know about Ronnie Hayes from Make a Path Presents? He's like a big Walking Dead channel back in the day. And now he's like one of these like anti-woke guys. It's fucking awesome. Now that's the real fall from grace. That's the real historic downfall. It's how he went from one of the greatest Walking Dead channels to fucking chud. It's awesome.
What was the cliffhanger? Well, after Negan finishes his incredible monologue, he lets Rick and the gang know that he will punish their arrogance by brutally murdering one person in the group with his baseball bat. He wants to make everybody watch as he bashes someone's head in as violently as he can. Now, it's a very famous scene from the comics the show is adapted from, and people were really looking forward to seeing it adapted.
Anyways, I will defend this cliffhanger specifically because the twist in 701 is so good that I feel like it completely justifies the cliffhanger. Because I don't think anybody would have predicted that they would have killed two characters, except me, obviously. And I didn't actually predict they'd kill two characters, but I did predict the two characters that they would kill. I forgive the cliffhanger specifically because the actual result of the cliffhanger was so fucking good. I don't think that can be understated. Straight up. Dead ass.
Instead opt for killing off another character to keep the surprise. As the finale approached, people behind the show promised a major death. They told people they would be shocked when they see who dies, so everybody tuned in. Scott Gimple was hyping the ending so much. Everyone was completely intrigued by the arrival of this Negan guy. The excitement was at a peak, and then Negan shows up. He announces he's gonna kill someone. He lifts his bat and smashes it down. You hear people screaming, and then it cuts to black.
You didn't need to dedicate like a 3-minute segment to explaining that. You could have just said, oh yeah, they ended on a cliffhanger and doesn't actually show who died. There you go. There's your, I explained that in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't see the problem,
promise
quite frankly.
and the hype. The season 6 finale ends without actually showing you who Negan kills. He hits the camera and then it cuts to black. It's a cheap and infuriating cliffhanger.
That's a great reason to defend the cliffhanger. The main cliffhangers that get hated are the ones that have no payoff at all. Exactly. That's what I find interesting about this specific cliffhanger is that people got immediately mad at it as if they weren't going to pay it off later. Because like that, yeah, that's like the whole point of a fucking cliffhanger is to pay it off later. That'd be like if you got mad. It's like, it'd be like if you watched Infinity War and then got mad that the heroes lost in the end. They're like, what? That's it? Now, in fairness, yes, you can have very manipulative cliffhangers, and you could argue that this is one of those. I personally don't view it as that, but you could easily view it as that. Now, if that's your argument, sure. If you felt manipulated and misled by this cliffhanger, then sure, fair enough. Dislike it all you want. But if you're mad at the cliffhanger for being a cliffhanger, That's fucking insane.
People now had to wait almost 7 months just to see who died. The backlash the show got was.
But that's another issue in my opinion, is that like people, this is one of those shows where like The Walking Dead specifically, I feel like no other show actually has this issue to my knowledge. But it was very much a show where like people who didn't really watch it or people who watched it casually were like, oh boy, can't we just see who dies this week? Or like, you know, people who don't watch it be like, oh, who died in that episode? It's like, it's not about who lives or dies. Like, do you think we watch the show to find out who dies? Like, yeah, it's important when big characters die. Like, yeah, but like, just being like, oh, I can't wait to see who dies on the show this week. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? I'm explaining this point very badly. I think I explained it a little more eloquently in another video. But like, I remember back in the day on the streams, back in the Twitch days when we were playing Danganronpa, I had people come into the stream and be like, oh, who died in this one? It's like, dude, even if I told you, would you care? You know what I mean? It's like, you know, the people like it seems like people only watch the show to see who lives and who dies, and it's like it's a very bizarre thought process to watch this show through. I don't understand it.
The episode is thrilling.
Oh, I love that. That sound effect is etched into my brain. Oh, I love it. Etched into my brain permanently. When people ask me, hey, what's your favorite grunt of all time? My answer is Negan killing Glenn in the head.
Brutal, emotional. It makes Negan even more terrifying than he was in the season 6 finale. And honestly, aside from some criticism over how graphic this episode was, the season 7,
which, by the way, I feel like that's not even worthy of criticism. I feel like they should be graphic to really sell it. You know what I mean?
7 premiere was so good and got so many people talking about it. Some people were convinced the show would succeed at getting the fans' trust back. And these people were wrong. I'm gonna make this short. Season 7 and 8 ruined the show, plain and simple. After the first episode of season 7, the show just crashes in terms of quality. It's an absolute freefall that to this day, I do not understand. It's almost hard to believe the nosedive the show goes on during this time. I still have trouble believing it's real, even though I watched all of it. Basically, to get...
See, listen, I know exactly why people think this. I know every argument people have against these seasons. I get them. I even agree with most of them. But I don't think they're that bad to justify calling it a complete nosedive. They're not as good, don't get me wrong, but like, a lot of exaggeration going on here. Not a fan of that.
Give you a brief overview. Season 7 and 8 are just 31 episodes of boomerang storytelling where nothing happens. It is all about the war against Negan, which should have been the most bonkers storyline in the entire show, especially after that crazy setup, but it is just so dull. It's an endless back and forth of useless bullshit and filler episodes that go on and on and on, and the show just never gets to the point. It's
because obviously, yes, filler is when I don't like what's happening in the show. Yeah, that's what filler means. Yeah, I'll be honest. People say that the All Out War arc is one of the best in the comics.
I kind of disagree.
Well, in fairness, I haven't read the comics in a couple years. I read them one time a couple years ago, so my memory of it isn't exactly as fresh. But while I do think it was handled better than the show's version, the comics are better than the show for this arc, it's still not ultimately that different in terms of like major plot points. It's like still kind of the same shit he was describing. It's a lot of like back and forth between communities. The dialogue is a lot better and it's a lot more impactful in the comics, which is why I think it's improved, or why the show doesn't improve. The show makes it worse. I'd have to reread it again. I don't know. Maybe I'm also wrong and biased and gay, but I don't know.
And in the process of ruining the story, they also ruin all of the characters one by one.
Okay, let's not get crazy. Let's see where he goes with this.
Negan is given one of the most badass introductions in the history of television, but despite Jeffrey Dean Morgan never giving a bad performance in this role, the character ends up becoming an annoying villain that feels boring and mishandled because he just never gets to the point.
I'm Negan. And I fed him spaghetti.
What do you mean he never gets to the point? You're just gonna move. You're just gonna like say you make that statement, not explain it at all, and move on. What do you mean by this?
Rick is completely directionless as a character now. Daryl, who...
That is fucking insane take, actually, for real. That is a genuinely fucking insane take. What the fuck are you talking about? Rick's directionless in this arc? Are you insane? Yeah, he's... Okay, in fairness, yeah, he's pretty directionless in the first, like... Okay, in 7A for the most part, like he's just kind of taking his beating for the most part. But then after Spencer gets killed, he's like, okay, I gotta step up. We gotta fight this motherfucker. And from then on, it is fucking. He is laser focused. I gotta take this motherfucker out. And that's increased tenfold when Carl dies, which on its own sets up a lot more character growth for him. Tell me nothing fucking happens with Rick's character. You're fucking insane. They're not that bad. Let's calm the fuck down. Let's relax. Listen. You think these are bad? Watch Fear the Walking Dead. Seasons 4, 5, and 8, and 7. Let's throw 7 in there for good measure. Watch seasons 4 and 5 of Fear, and then tell me this is bad. Go ahead. Do it. Do it, pussy. If you want to talk about a historic downfall, Fear the Walking Dead.
It was noticeable because they were losing viewers.
I'm yelling. I don't know why I'm
fast.
yelling.
The ratings were dropping at an alarming rate, and that continued through season 8.
Hey, that rhymes.
Fan communities online
Bars.
just
Hold on, I have a soundboard for this. Wrong button. I pressed the wrong button. You're gonna ignore this sound effect, and I'm gonna play a different one after this. So we're just gonna wait patiently.
That's gotta be racist. There's no way.
Okay, you're gonna pretend I didn't play that one and play this one instead.
That's called motherfucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that.
I'm so funny.
The show never recovered from season 7 and 8, especially not after they made their third and final fatal mistake. Because in the mid-season finale of season 8, the writer
Yo, here we go. Coral do a die. He do a dinky death.
writers randomly decided to
I'm
kill
gay.
off Carl Grimes, Rick's son.
Hold on, you guys. Hold on. Wait, did I see this on Twitter? Was this on Twitter or was this Reddit? I don't remember where I saw this. I think it was Twitter. There's like this white guy on TikTok doing like a Morgan monologue. It's so funny. Here it is. I found it. This is my favorite fucking video.
Yeah, but I mean, you said you would turn on your radio every day at dawn. You said you would turn on your radio every day at dawn, but you are not there!
Well, Trigger, I'm just here to show your cat gooning in the chat. Let me cook. Here's a sizzler. Don't mess with the Rizzler. You work for me. You provide for me. You're joke maxing, whilst mine's bigger.
I'm gay. All right.
But before people even found out about that, there was already just outrage everywhere.
No?
After 23 episodes of complete boredom and mediocrity, Carl's death comes out of nowhere and in a way that feels incredibly unearned. And it was
Unearned is a weird way to talk about a death, but okay. But yeah, no, I see what he means. Like, yeah, it comes out of nowhere. It's not very relevant to the story. You guys ever see that meme? There's a Walking Dead meme where it was like Scott Gimple when Chandler Riggs turns 18, and it's that clip from it's like I think it's the season 7 finale, where Negan's like,
I'm gonna kill Carl now.
just the ultimate breaking point for the show. Carl's death proved to be the last straw for a lot of people. Everyone was
I find it very ironic. I'm not defending Carl's death, by the way. I'm quite possibly the person who hates it the most, if you think about it. I'm not defending Carl's death by any means. However, I find it a little bit ironic that one of his earlier points was that the show had stakes when you thought nobody was safe, right? Carl dying does kind of reinforce the idea that nobody is safe. That is still true. Admittedly, his death is handled really shittily. It's written terribly. Has nothing to do with the actual arc. It just kind of happens, comes out of nowhere, and it's done in the dumbest way possible. Understandable. But you can't have the argument of the show is bad now because there's no stakes, and then when they actually have stakes and nobody is safe, like you wanted them to be, you can't then criticize it for doing that. But I know I'm being a nitpicking asshole, making a bad point. It's a vibe. I'm gay. Coral. I'm gay.
It literally got to the point where the cast of the show was sent on a whole press tour early in season 9 to literally beg people not to give up on the show. Season 9 also saw Scott Gimple.
What do you mean by this? What do you mean they went on a whole press tour to beg people to not give up on it? I think it's just called doing a regular press tour. That's the whole point of a press tour, is be like, hey guys, watch our show. New season. That's the whole point of a press tour, you fucking dolt. You dolt? Dolt? I was gonna say dolt, but I'm retarded. Maybe I'm the dolt. Maybe I'm fucking gay and retarded. Hey, look, it's Scott Gimpies. What up, Gimpies?
Angela Kang actually fixed the show. Season 9 is one of the best seasons of The Walking Dead. It is one of the best return to forms I've ever seen on television, and Angela takes 100% of the credit for that. And she had to work with a lot of bullshit to manage to make it this good.
I don't know. There's just clearly there's a track record with a lot of shows where changing showrunners tends to ruin it. Hey, Hollywood. Fucking, corporate executives. All you daft cunts. Maybe stop getting rid of showrunners. I get it. You don't always necessarily have a choice, but what the fuck? Clearly, this is never good for a show. Ever. As you'll see with Fear of the Walking Dead. Anyways.
She had to deal with the aftermath of the worst 2 seasons, and she also had to deal with Andrew Lincoln leaving the show. We'll talk about his departure more in a little bit, but him leaving meant Angela was now tasked with reinventing...
By the way, I hate it. This is something that bothers the fuck out of me when YouTube reviewers refer to people like in specific positions by their first name. You know what I mean? It drives me nuts. Like if I was talking about if I was criticizing Scott Gimple, I don't call him Scott. And I'd be like, I can't believe Scott did this because, like, I don't know him. We're not friends. I don't want to be friends with Scott Gimple. I'll either call him Scott Gimple, Scott M. Gimple, or just Gimple. I'm not going to call him Scott. The only person I'm calling Scott is the black guy from Alexandria because he's the GOAT. Shouts out Scott. Anyways. And Scott the Waz.
Hitler!
I'm going to start calling him
without
Gimpy.
its protagonist.
This was not in the script for the Fear video, but it's totally going in now. I'm totally calling him Scott Gimpies.
Friends and family members around some good food, and then whoever wasn't able to make it would call after the episode, and we would all talk about it and stuff, and it was a hype that felt amazing and fun and fresh. But by the time season 10 rolled around, I was the only person in my entire extended circle that was still watching the show. And
Literally, exact same thing happened to me. I was the only person still watching it. Like, this was like the big family show in my house for like years. I think probably up until like season 8. Actually, no, me and my dad watched season 9. Because my mom fell off the show after season 8. She didn't really give a shit anymore. I think my dad just kept watching it because he knew I liked it and was like, he's like, okay, my autistic fucking son just keeps like watches the dumb fucking zombie show. And season 10 happened and we kind of just like watched it on our own time. Like, I think he watched it when it was upstairs. I was like, wait, I just waited till the next day to watch it. And that was it. At a certain point, I was the only one still watching. And I think I think last year my mom rewatched the entire show, but unrelated to any of that. But yeah, I had the exact same experience. Like, season 10, everybody stopped. Like, I was the only person in my immediate family still watching it. This was when I was actually working on working on the Walking Dead video itself. I think I was probably still scripting it and still writing it, but is when season 11 was still airing, so like I was probably writing the season 11 segments. But I was at work, and the girl at work was trying to like make conversation or whatever, and she's like, "Do you watch The Walking Dead?" And I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm making a 6-hour long video about it, but I'm like, yeah. And then she has like some fucking thing about like Judith or whatever. I don't remember what the fuck she was talking about. I was the thing in the back of my mind. I'm like, I like it a little bit more than most people. If I was more autistic, if I was a different kind of autistic, I could literally talk your ear off about this, and I can. But I can only do it to a camera or a microphone. Shout out autism. Viewership going down could have also been from fatigue instead of just really season 7 and 8 not being that good. I think it's probably both. Because I think season 7 and 8 being not very good also exposed a lot of people to the fact that there was probably a lot of fatigue with the show. Because even by like season 5, people were tired of it. Because I remember seeing I think I was doing research for the Walking Dead video. I was doing like background research for like fucking production shit or whatever. And I found like there was one article I found where it was like The Walking Dead season 4 was bad. Here's how they can improve in season 5 or whatever. The answer was like the article was like, the best thing The Walking Dead can do is completely ignore the comics and start doing its own original story. People were already tired of it by that point, and that was the best fucking season, arguably. So I think the fatigue existed definitely way before that. And I think season 7 and 8 just showed a lot of people like, oh, this is what we're doing now. This is just okay. We're still doing this. But yeah,
The Walking Dead could pull up to 17 million live viewers. Yeah, well, by
there's a Venn
season
diagram
11,
correct
the show
going on
was
there.
only pulling about 1 million viewers per episode.
Now, he says that the way he frames this is a little bit misleading. Let me put it this way. Yes, that is a pretty steep drop off, having like 17 million viewers an episode at your peak. and then dropping down to 1 million on your final season. That's pretty bad. It's a pretty drastic jump. However, you also need to consider that the final season was airing during the streaming era, where not as many people were using cable, and it's unclear as if they actually count streaming numbers in these rating things anymore. I think the assumption can be made. I don't know if this is an assumption or if this is actually true, but I think that 1 million, it just only means that's 1 million people only watched it on TV. It's not counting the people who streamed it on fucking AMC Plus or some other fucking service. I think it's just counting people who streamed it on TV. And that makes complete sense, because like if you compare that to other huge, well-received shows at the time, they were also receiving similar numbers. So this is a bit of a misleading statistic, though it is still a bit telling. Because like I like to make the Better Call Saul comparison, because Better Call Saul's final season was airing around the same time as Walking Dead's final season, and they were getting similar numbers. In fact, I think Walking Dead's numbers were a little bit higher than Better Call Saul's, which is crazy because Saul was like the infinitely better and more talked about show. So I think this is a very misleading statistic that I feel like a lot of people really acknowledge, or people just seem to take the numbers at face value and don't actually acknowledge or don't actually analyze what those numbers actually mean or how they came to the conclusion that how they even got those numbers in the first place. So, bit of a discrepancy, but
the series finale, the end of this 12-year journey that meant so much to so many people, only pulled about 2 million viewers.
And, however, it was also the second most viewed program on TV that night, right behind Yellowstone. And I think FIFA, but we don't count FIFA because who gives a fuck about FIFA? Again, he's being a little bit misleading because, yeah, 2 million compared to 17 million is pretty bad. But that 2 million was still the most, like, one of the top viewed shows that night. So.
And to this day, almost 6 months after the finale, some old fans of the show are not even aware that The Walking Dead ended last year. And, oh, speaking of the devil, let's talk about the very reason I made this video.
Is that the show didn't actually end.
Let's talk about the ending. I hate the ending of The Walking Dead. I can't stand it. Watching it made me so frustrated and so sad at the same time. Now, to reiterate, yes, I did stop watching the show 2 episodes into season 10, and I never finished that season, and I never watched the first half of season 11. Although, from what I've seen...
You're a fucking maniac. You're a fucking maniac. You're a fucking insane person. I don't respect people who skip episodes straight up. I don't care if you're watching the worst. I don't care if it's the worst show you've ever seen. You cannot give it an actual full-on review or give your full opinion on it if you did not watch the fucking entire thing. If you skip episodes, I don't fucking trust your ass, dude. Me skipping The Great Divide. Gay.
Insulting and soul-shattering as other shows. It's not the finale of Game of Thrones or Lost, Pretty Little Liars, How I Met Your Mother, Dexter, or hell, even The Sopranos. But
I feel like this guy's never been pleased by an ending in his life. Like he actually went. He literally went out of his way to explain. Like, yeah, I watched these episodes, and then the finale. It's like, what do you do? What the fuck are you doing? I can't take you seriously now. I was agreeing with you for most of the video. I mean, I had some disagreements here and there, but like I was agreeing with you. And then you come and hit me with this bullshit. Like, oh, I didn't actually finish the show correctly. Fuck you, dude. I no longer have any respect for your opinion. I'm exaggerating, but like a little bit, not really.
The ending of The Walking Dead is
not an ending. Yeah, there you
the show
go.
ends.
I could write this fucking video for him, dude.
Yes, but the story doesn't. The Walking Dead finale is not a true swan song. It's a jumping pad used to expand on the franchise in AMC's continual and desperate attempts at creating their Walking Dead universe. The characters that we loved and cherished don't actually complete arcs that come full circle or allow them to find closure. No, they're just being sent off to different spin-off series in different parts of the world. Daryl Dixon, who essentially became the protagonist after Rick's departure, will somehow find himself in Paris in a new show of his own that is currently shooting. Maggie and Negan are apparently getting a spin-off titled The Walking Dead Dead City. That's a terrible title, by the way. That will be...
Terrible city. Terrible title, by the way. The original title was Isle of the Dead, which is also a terrible name. There was really no good way to name that series, I guess.
There was a whole setup for his exit with the now infamous flash forward from the beginning of season 8 showing Rick appearing to be dying next to a tree, which was confirmed by Andrew Lincoln himself to be a setup for the end of Rick's story because he initially asked for the writers to kill him off. Except AMC somehow convinced him to stay for another 5 episodes in season 9 so they can...
I am actually so glad the writers convinced him that, because if he fucking died there, I'd be pissed. In that alternate reality, I'm probably sitting here justifying it right now, but I'd be fucking pissed.
Since day one, The Walking Dead had been the story of Rick Grimes. So people
Rick
were set to
Grimes.
know the story
I'm
was going
Rick
to be moving
Grimes.
past him, but we're still curious to see how things would end for him, especially after all the public farewells they've seen from Andrew and AMC. It was difficult to accept, but everyone came to terms with it and was ready to say goodbye. But then, they never really figured out what they wanted those movies to be, which was very apparent when interviews of Scott or creator Robert Kirkman led to questions about the project.
Is Robert Kirkman even involved anymore? I don't even think he is. In fact, I think he sued AMC. He was like, fuck you guys, give me fucking royalty money. I don't even think he's involved. This is crazy.
AMC has been trying to kickstart a Walking Dead universe for the better part of a decade now, and it's never truly worked out for them. Fear the Walking.
This is literally just the part of my video just condensed down. I had a whole fucking diatribe about this.
Walking Dead, the first spin-off the show ever had, is the most successful venture the franchise has had aside from the original show. It's about to end with its 7th season, I think, and everything I hear about it is negative. It seems like people have not liked this show in a really long time, and people who watch it seem to be just as annoyed with it as people were with the original show in season 7 and 8. I personally gave up on Fear the Walking Dead about halfway through its 2nd season, so I'm not really concerned.
Oh, he didn't even get to the good part. He didn't even get to the best part. Dude, I hear a lot of people that do that. I've seen so many Reddit posts being like, I'm halfway through season 2 of Fear the Walking Dead and I can't take it anymore. It's like, do I just stop watching? And everyone on Reddit is like, no! Fucking Redditors.
Here, but I don't know anyone who watches this show anymore, and maybe that's why it's ending. Then there is The Walking Dead World Beyond, a teen drama take on the zombie apocalypse that was just really bad. Nobody really watched it. It ended after 2 seasons, and the only relevant moments it had were one scene.
Well, it didn't end after 2 seasons. It was only planned for 2 seasons. It's not like it was like canceled or anything. He's being a bit misleading there. I don't get why people don't like season 2. I love season 2. I wouldn't say I love it. Love's a strong word, but it's pretty good. I fucking love season 2. Raw dog it every night, cuddle with it, make it breakfast in bed. Bro is fucking until the room stinks, dude.
Which is something that probably...
Hey, that's the guy that called Dream and F-Slur. It's pretty epic.
And finally, last year, we had Tales of the Walking Dead.
This is the only one I haven't seen.
An anthology spin-off series
Terry Crews
that
is in it, so I feel like I have to.
Fast by it. And it looks like AMC is just reaching to try and bring the franchise back to its 2015-ish glory. But man, that's long.
And that's the sad part. They're never gonna reach it again. Now, unless they somehow pull like the greatest fucking comeback of all time, and they have like some finale spin-off or like some finale movie that just combines all the other spin-offs together, brings all these classic characters back together for one final fucking adventure that serves as like a send-off or whatever. Unless they do something great with that premise, there's no coming back. I hate to admit it.
It's a story that keeps going just for the sake of it. And more often than not, these stories keep going until nobody wants to watch them anymore, and then it ends in a bit of a dud that, by default, cannot be satisfying to anyone. And it's a sad fate for a show that once was a cultural phenomenon of a scale we had never really seen before. In a meta way, you could say that the franchise itself is the real Walking Dead. Okay,
that's actually a good ass fucking bar to end on. That's actually kind of fire. I don't even necessarily agree with the premise, but that's a fucking fire. That's heat, dude. This man is clearly never seen Fear the Walking Dead. He would be singing a completely different tune if he was watching Fear the Walking Dead. That's all I'm saying, dude. All right, so it's been 2 hours since we started watching videos. We've only gotten through one video. This one's an hour and 10 minutes. Oh, yeah. Anyways, this video was like, okay, I guess. Thought it was going to be worse than it was. It was actually kind of decent. Kind of a good video. I don't agree with some of it, but I don't think the guy meant anything bad, anything like offensive by it, or it was like, I don't think the guy making it was like, he had like malicious intent or anything. I don't think he was trying to be like, this show sucks dick, and it's gay, and you suck dick for liking it, and you're gay for liking it. I don't think he was going for that vibe, which was definitely the vibe I thought he was originally going to go into it with. I thought it was going to be a completely different vibe than what I was getting, but yeah, it ended up being a pretty reasonable video, filled with takes I don't agree with, but I'm more of a hardcore fan, so, of course. Anyways, was this fucking some gay guy?
Carl, what's up with you, Carl?
Dad, I'm gay. What's going on out here, Rick?
No, ain't no son of mine, Carl. You gay bastard.